All right, so let's do some basic JavaScript stuff. The first thing I want to do is target something on this page to make it visible. And I wish that so let's get rid of this damn AI chat window. I tell you, a friend of mine talked to me about using Claude, and Claude is so cool because I could actually point it to a repository, not even open up the dang code base, and it will just do everything for me. It's pretty amazing that that is possible. I can, but it's also scary because, I have no view of what it's actually doing. So let's just keep these open and look at it. First thing I think is just very basic is just in working with JavaScript is npm start is just looking at the divs on the page and then just targeting them with some data. So we have a couple divs on this page, and it starts with some basic text, but we can use JavaScript to overwrite that. And I think that's worth starting with because the point of a web viewer is to show data inside of it, FileMaker data inside of a web viewer using the all the craziness of what JavaScript can do. So let's do that here. We're going to start with this H1 and we'll just give it a I'm going to just give it an ID. I guess, this might be a little overkill. In fact, I think Gabe could tell us a better way to do this. But I could use some JavaScript to select this particular item, and then I could set it with something else. And there's a couple ways to do that by by grabbing the ID of it or by grabbing the type, right? The div element itself, right? Or the name of the div element. Is that right, Gabe? So I could do a query selector
Query
for
select hate the h1 tag, yeah.
yeah. So let's
Which is
do that
fine if
here.
you've only got one h1 on the page. Otherwise, if you have more than one h1, it's gonna yeah.
So let's do that. So we're going to start with we'll say const title equals let's just do
I
document
thought you're
dot
doing
get
no AI. What's all this autofill?
it's okay, I'll turn it off. You're right. It's funny how it's just not even something I think about anymore. I'm not letting it code for me, but I don't mind
Suggesting.
the suggesting. All right.
Yeah, the syntax.
Document.get element by ID. So there's a couple of ways we could do it. We could say get element, oops, document dot. Man, I don't actually like the auto suggestions. And we'll change this to title since that's the name of my variable. I don't know about you all, but I like my variables to match. And in here, I'm matching the name of the ID of the div with the title, the variable name. So if we get that const title, what this is doing specifically is it's looking in our HTML, the document, and it's looking for an element with the ID of title. Okay. Now there's another way to do it. Const title two equals document dot, is it query selector?
Query select, yeah.
And we could say, I want you to look for the H1. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So either one of these would work. The point is that we are going into the HTML and we're finding the particular element that we want to work with. And Gabe's point is true. If we only have one H1 on there, we can use the query selector. It doesn't seem likely that we would want to have only H1 in there. So we'll just remove that and we won't worry about that. Once we have that element inside of a variable, we can write title dot. Now there's a couple ways, and I actually don't know which way is correct. I think there's a problem with one of them. We could say title dot text content. This this title is the variable. It is a representation of, or it is the actual element on the page. That element has different properties. One of them is called title, one of them is called inner HTML. And what we're doing is we're simply using JavaScript to set that text with some some text that comes from FileMaker. Gabe, do you know the difference between text content and inner HTML?
Yeah, so it's kind of text content is in a way a safer way because it only allows you to put some text inside of there. Whereas in a HTML, you
Oh,
could put in any HTML. You could nest another div and put some inline JavaScript and blah 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 blah.
that's
So in
great.
a way, it's almost safer to say if you text content because then it's only ever going to put text into there. If that makes sense.
All right. So let's do that.
So,
So,
sorry,
yeah.
just on that point, Gabe,
Mm.
if you were to put some HTML code in there, would it just end up as in uh, escaped in the code?
It would, I think, I don't. We have to check it actually, but I
Yeah,
think
let's try it.
it would ignore the HTML part of it. It would render it as literally as text,
Yeah. Okay.
rather than if you had like span tags or em tags or something like that, then that's the raw HTML that's going inside of it. So it sort of depends on what you want to do, but it's yeah, it's a kind of a way to va-
All right.
validate the content coming in.
So see, so what happens is when we run this, we get, let's just place this, go back in here. And when we run this, now we see two different things. We saw, first of all, saw this code, and then we saw this code. And that's simply because this HTML page was rendered, and then the job once, this is about the order of operations, basically the order of the lines. This got rendered first, and then the script tag had the JavaScript in it, and that function ran and it updated the code. So this probably doesn't look really great if we have something there first and then we don't, and then it changes. So it's probably worth deleting that. We might as well just delete the other things for right now, or just comment. I can never comment out HTML, so I'll just delete them. So now we start off with a blank page. We do have an HTML element already in there. And then we run this, and now it renders, or it renders the text, which then displays the div. I probably wouldn't do that. I probably would just wipe this whole thing out and just leave a blank body there, and then use some JavaScript to actually create that. So rather than saying document.get element by ID, I would say const, let's see, we'll do, we don't need to select the body because we've already done it, but we're going to say h1 equals document dot create. Is it create element? Create element. We're going to ask it to create an h1. And now, I guess I could have done that here. Let's just do title right here, and we'll do that. So now, let's fix that. We've created the element here from scratch, from our own fingers. We have set the content to it, and now we are taking that title, that div element that we've created in the JavaScript and put in the memory, and we're appending that to the body of the document. So this function right here will, with nothing in it, will create a div element. And that's great because now we have complete freedom in creating stuff with data from FileMaker. The data can come in, we can process the data, and now we have our ability to create stuff from scratch. It's kind of nice. It's kind of freeing to be able to do that, right? To be able to create stuff. So yeah, so this is one thing. Now I already have the H1 styled. So my H1 looks like this. And that's perfectly fine if I know that I'm going to create a bunch of H1s. I've already got the styling for it, but I can actually apply styling to it without the need for this CSS file. I could still use some JavaScript to apply the styling. Let's do something here. So it's by default, it's got a color of red. What I think I want to do is I want to say title. I want to overwrite it and say title.style.color equals blue. So I'm not sure what that will do actually. Yeah, so it should overwrite this because this was rendered first because the CSS and the HTML were loaded into the browser, the web viewer. And by default, it's going to take it. But because I'm specifically saying this one right here, I want you to update the style. Let's see if that works. There we go. So now I have,
It's
yeah,
it's not because of the order in which the operations are done. It's to do with the hierarchy of the CSS. It's because that if you right click and inspect that in the web inspector, you'll see
okay,
that it has a inline style attribute which will
okay.
say color equals red. So you can see that's overriding the style from the style sheet, which is H1. So a rule style rule is always overridden by the inline style has a higher kind of precedence over the top of the rule.
I'm hearing music. Is anybody playing music?
Sorry, there's
Yeah, me too.
my eldest is having piano lessons
No
next
worries.
week.
Yeah, I was just like, did I accidentally start up a like Spotify or something? So what this does for a FileMaker developer is gives us complete control over what we want to create. If we want to bring in some text here, we would bring it in the traditional way. We would bring it in via a variable. We would say const object equals JSON.parse JSON, and we would say const title text equals object.title. And then that title text would be right there. And now we would go to FileMaker, and in our get data script, we will set a variable called set variable title. We'll say no, really, this is from FileMaker. And then we have to set this up, JSON set element. We don't have to go through all this work, but I might as well because this is my process. Title, JSON string, exit data. So the widget goes and gets the data. It puts it into it's going to be a JSON object here instead of an array. Okay, and I want to, so I need another layer just because I have this. So let me think about this. Let's see. I always forget. So the data isn't an object here. The object is going to come in here, and I'm going to put that object inside of there. I don't, I have to do it that way. I mean, I guess I could, here's what I could do. I could just say, this is JSON here because my object is being formed in the other script, and that comes in here. So now if we run this, so that comes in from FileMaker. So if I want to if I want to have a window title or something, the window title, I could do that, or the section title. I could do that here. Let's get rid of that ugly red. And now, there we go. So now I can start to I can start to build a web page from the data that comes from FileMaker. I can start to build my layout as I would like to. And again, it's generated in real time. There are no web objects. And once I have it in the web viewer, I can start to take advantage of the responsive nature of it to build something that I want to display. So this is just some basic JavaScript. This is the stuff that I forget because React, JavaScript libraries like data tables and others, they do this stuff under the hood because these are the ways to get something, text, picture, whatever, into the browser and have it render in that HTML document. So yeah, so that's some basic JavaScript. And I think again, it's worth, this is actually exciting for me. I don't know if you can tell, it feels exciting to be able to go, okay, what else can we do to this? Title dot, I wish it would give me the properties here. Maybe it does. How about title dot? Let's do, these are just all the titles of that, or all the properties of it. Title dot, I don't know. Is there anything cool to do? how about just do an on click, title dot on click equals, and now we're going to do a function, and we're going to add a on click to that will run some JavaScript. So now we can play with the properties of this element that's in the layout or in the browser, and do something interesting with it. So what else should I do with it? Title dot I don't know. On mouse over. Where is that? On mouse over equals function. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's do that. Yes. So when we run that, we now have a hover effect. We could do what is it? Title dot style dot cursor dot pointer. There we go. There we go. Nice. So now I've got a nice hover effect that I could build. And it just allows me the freedom to do something interesting with the work that I'm doing. So this is the basics, and I think it's worth playing with this idea of just spending time playing with some JavaScript here.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where you just need to do something simple and you don't even need a library. Where
exactly, yeah.
You want to be able to copy and paste some text from a field that's not modifiable by the user, and you just put it in a little pop over with a web viewer, and be able to do bits and pieces like that. There's definitely times when.
What I might do to bring this up is to now I'm going to use some AI here. Just install or link to the Tailwind CSS CDN. I'm just going to ask it to update my index.html. There we go. Okay. So now when I run this, because I have my own styling going on already, just going to get rid of that. I think this will be fine. Actually, I'm surprised. I would have thought it already has some styling to it. There. No, well, I mean it's all wrong now, but black, okay. I had assumed maybe I was wrong here. I never usually link to a H1, or I never link to.
I don't think in Tailwind having a header gives it any standard style. You still got to give it like a
I think I think it does. I think Tailwind has a default. I don't know. Am I wrong here? Let's remove that. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay. So just by installing Tailwind CSS, I can get a nicer look of it. That doesn't really help. We could do
probably want to take all of your local styles out to get there over there.
Take all my local styles out?
Yeah.
Well, I did by just removing
you've done
So there we go. So just added some quick styling, and I could do, let's do one more thing. We'll do title dot class list. That's another JavaScript function, JavaScript method on the elements, the H1 element. So I can add a class list. To the class list, I can add some Tailwind styles. So there we go. So now I've got that. Font, we'll do font light. Yeah, nice. So now I can start to design my stuff. Obviously, I could use AI to do this, but to me, it's much more fun to do it this way. I don't feel icky after doing this session. I don't feel icky like I do when I'm working with AI. Do y'all feel icky when you work with AI?
Hmm. I tend to be quite reserved with it at the moment. I kind of I don't let it do too much for me,
Okay.
um, because I like to understand, like you say. I don't like. I feel, yeah. I guess I feel slightly uncomfortable is the same as saying I still feel slightly icky if I put a big blob of code somewhere and then think, okay, that's okay, run with it. But
Oops.
I think there's cases where you could and probably should be doing that. But yeah, I
Okay.
understand the sentiment.
Cool. All right. Well, it's fun to play with these ideas. So I would recommend you do something in JavaScript, just without the extensive use of AI. I don't have a problem using the. I think Mark, you mentioned a while back, a couple weeks ago, that sometimes the type ahead is just too aggressive and it just makes your code even messier, or it just
Yeah,
yeah.
it does. And sometimes you use what it pops up, but you know, it gets annoying sometimes because it covers half your code.
Yeah. So that's really hard to see. Let's try something. Animate. How about this? Animate pulse. Can I do this? I'm not sure. Let's see if I can do this. I'm not sure. I was trying to add some animation to it here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's pulsing a little bit. It's kind of hard to read, see, but yes, it is. Wonderful. All right. So it's encouraging. This feels good. I enjoy playing with the idea of this. Um, yeah, so maybe I'll spend the rest of the day just building a nice, I don't even know what this is really. It's just some data that's coming in from FileMaker that I need to display in a responsive way with some functionality added to it that just, makes it easier to work with. So all right, well that's it for now, I think. Go forth and use human intelligence this week. Be like Lee and let it be reserved.